and welcome to episode 67 of China Tools, a series of videos where we put woodworking tools from China to a test. My name is Dennis and I am hooked on wood. And in this video I'm very excited to show you my TrueGrid workbench layout system. It's a system I designed in collaboration with Hongdui. And this may sound a little unusual, but I'm genuinely proud of what I get to show you today. What you are looking at is my interpretation of a system for creating a highly accurate grid of dogholes in your workbench. And I can already tell you that this has become a system that without exaggeration I believe is the most accurate, most flexible, most affordable and easiest to use system currently available. And yes, I know that is a big statement and of course it's my opinion, but throughout this video I want to show you exactly why I feel so strongly about it. There's a very good chance you will end up and sharing this opinion too. We call it TrueGrid, and I truly believe it sets a new standard for creating a CNC-like accurate grid of dogholes in a workbench top. But before we get into the system itself, let's take a moment to talk about the whole idea of putting a grid of holes in your workbench. And the big advantage of dogholes is that with the wide range of accessories available for them, you can massively expand what your workbench is capable of. And if you are able to create a CNC-like accurate hole pattern, your workbench stops being just a work surface and starts to become a large and very precise reference tool. And that sounds simple, but it is incredibly useful to be able to align things perfectly square, quickly and with confidence. And in combination with a fence and a guide rail, it can give you a very accurate cutting setup. And if you work with pocket holes, it gives you a stable and perfectly square reference while assembling parts. And during glue up or general assembly, it once again gives you the same reliable square reference. So pretty quickly you start to notice that a workbench with an accurate grid of dogholes is not just nice to have, it's a serious upgrade in everyday use. And at the same time, a system like this only makes sense if it is truly accurate. And it's almost impossible to create a grid like this with a CNC-like accuracy using a do-it-yourself approach. There are simply too many variables and too many of them can influence the final results. And that is exactly what makes this so unforgiving. If the accuracy is not there, the whole idea quickly becomes useless as a reference. Besides woodworking, I love my garden, which is also organized and clean. And Momotion are real game-changing robot mowers with technology that sets new standards. Simply place it in your garden and let it create a map automatically or do it manually as I do here. And that's it. There's no need for perimeter wiring or separate antenna stations. And it took great care of my lawn last year and crossed my gravel paths without any issues. And I'm still amazed how it handles the edges. And again, without perimeter wiring. But now I got its bigger brother, the Luba 3, which comes with the most advanced positioning system and an accuracy of about 1 cm. It's still a bit too early to put it to work, but I'm hoping to show the first results in my next video. But based on my experience from last year, I can highly recommend Momotion robot mowers. And the foundation of our system is a large template that allows you to create no fewer than 21 holes in a single run. So this is a completely different approach, but also a much simpler one. And in the manual we included a clear layout guide that makes it easy to determine the offset of the template so you can distribute the holes nicely and evenly across your workbench. And one of the really nice things about our system is that we simply screw the template down to the workbench using our screw down caps. So no clamps, no temporary setup, just a fixed and solid construction. And once it is attached, it becomes one with the workbench. It cannot shift or lift and it gives you a very stable foundation for creating accurate holes. And alongside the larger holes in the template, you will also see smaller holes on both sides. And these are used to attach the main drill guide. And we developed this system around our bench dogs. Our bench dogs are longer and they feature a unique 3-ring expansion design. And by using them, we get a very special combination. On the one hand, the main drill guide is perfectly aligned with the template. And on the other hand, the connection is not just centered, but also mechanically locked in place, with real resistance against the template lifting or shifting while drilling. And to make it one step further, we made our main drill guide wider, and with the dust cap mounted on top of that flat base. And this gives it much better resistance against tipping and helps prevent holes from ending up slightly out of square. And when you combine that with the fact that our drill guide is fixed to the template by the expanding bench doors, and the template itself is fixed to the workbench, you end up with a setup in which the opportunity for inaccuracy is reduced to an absolute minimum. In fact, it even allows you to use both hands simply to focus on keeping the drill steady, because the drill guide itself is already stable and fixed in place. And after drilling all the holes, we reach the stage where the screw down caps need to be removed. So to maintain stability, we developed these anchor rings, and we place these across the template in already drilled holes or close to the screw down cap you want to remove. And thanks to our longer bench dogs with the 3-ring design, the template once again becomes a perfectly aligned construction with the workbench top. And that means the screw down cap can be removed safely without any chance of the template shifting. So we can then drill the holes where the screw down caps were originally fixed, and once that is done, there's nothing left to show that the template was ever screwed down at these points. And after that, it's simply a matter of repositioning the template. And the safest way to do that is to move the template so that it maintains at least 3 points of contact with the anchor rings, while creating 1 or more fixing points with the screw down caps. This way, the template once again becomes a solid and stable part of the workbench, allowing you to extend the whole pattern with confidence. And once you have completed the base layout the way you want it, and the template has been removed, there is one more very useful option. The holes in the TrueGrid template are spaced 96 mm apart. But if needed, you can locally increase this resolution to 48 mm. And you do that by placing the main drill guide on 2 existing holes that are 96 mm apart. And this allows you to drill an additional hole exactly halfway between them. And I found that especially useful around the area where I mounted my vise, because it gives me more flexibility when clamping workpieces of different sizes on my workbench. But in a way that really only highlights one part of why we developed it like it is, although it's probably the most important part. In the past, partly because there simply was not really another option, I gave my workbenches a continuous grid of dogholes. And while that certainly gives you a lot of flexibility, I do not necessarily see a large number of holes as an advantage. Small parts can fall through and thus becomes more of an issue. And in my opinion, that many holes are simply not necessary. So over time, I started experimenting with a hole pattern that gives me the flexibility I need, but with as fewer holes as possible. And there are really 2 things that make that possible. And the first is that I make a lot of use of these Hongdu straight edges that come in 60 and 100 cm versions, which gives me plenty of flexibility across the full workbench top. And they are very convenient for aligning workpieces or using them as a solid reference edge. And in my experience, that works better than relying on 2 separate bench dogs. And another advantage is that you can use them as a fence. And because they can be mounted from above with countersunk bench dogs, the full length remains usable for fence top work. So that makes them a very versatile tool, and for me one of the key reasons why a workbench top with fewer dog holes becomes much more practical. But the main reason I feel comfortable starting with fewer holes is that the TrueGrid makes it very easy to expand the grid later on. So you can begin with the layout you actually need or think you need, and at some point you want an additional hole, you can add it without compromising the accuracy of the rest of the grid. So I'm currently building a new workbench top with only a limited numbers of holes, and this template has already proven that it can place them with 100% accuracy. For this system we developed a Special Forstner Bit with an unusually long shank. allowing the system to be used on thicker workbench tops up to 40 mm thick. And it's actually a bit unfortunate that it looks like such a simple Forstner bit, because a lot of time went into developing it, and it's responsible for a significant part of the overall cost of the system. The tolerances are extremely tight and it is incredibly sharp. Drilling holes in MDF never went this easy before. And to guide the Forstner bit as accurately as possible, a pre-drill hole is required. And this is why we included a 3 mm pilot drill guide, which helped create a clean and straight hole to guide the tip of the Forstner bit. So with that flexibility and with all the clever ideas behind creating such a rock-solid connection to the workbench top, it has become, for me, one of the smartest and most thoughtfully designed systems in this area. And I have said it before, but a system like this only makes sense if it is truly accurate. And if that is the goal, there are no real corners you can cut. So by building the system around our existing bench dogs, we are able to save on development costs, because we did not need to design them from scratch. And from the beginning, my goal was to make this system as attractive and as accessible as possible, rather than simply pricing it against the competition. And that is why the full system will be offered at $190 as an introductory price. And that means we have been able to keep the price well below the competition, even though this is the more complete and the more accurate and the more flexible system. And I really want to emphasize that it is very easy to judge an investment like this the wrong way. Because what you are buying is not just a system itself that you probably only use a few times. What you are really buying is a more accurate and more capable workbench. And the benefits of that comes back every single time you use it. To use the system efficiently, you will need at least 4 bench dogs, with ideally 6. So if you do not have them already, I put a link for them in the description of this video. And in practice, 6 bench dogs really is a great number to have around the bench. And you will also need a chamfer and a reamer to finish the holes so the bench dogs fit properly. But that reamer is not just useful for the system, you need it to maintain your workbench over time and to clean up the holes regularly. All in all, I am genuinely proud of what we have been able to develop together with Hongdui. They are extremely good at turning my ideas into practical products, and it has been a very enjoyable collaboration. So let me know what you think and whether you would like to see me develop more products like this, and if so, feel free to leave some suggestions. You never know, it might inspire me to put time into the next idea. Thank you for watching, have a great day, and well, we see each other next time.